What's up, guys? It's the Bluebloods. Our audio's back. We're both, back where we should be with actual mics and, not in the middle of Missouri. But, guys, we have a huge Week 11 coming. We were talking before the episode. We have no rank versus rank matchups this week, but it's still a big week because the last time that happened, 3 top 10 teams lost that weekend. So it's up. We're just dubbing this upset week here on the Bluebloods. We're going to kick it off with pick 6, like always, man. We picked 6 of the best games of the week. Would they be the best games in any other week? Probably not. I can't believe we're about to cover some of these games, but here we are, guys. You tuned in for this. We're giving it to you. We're going to wrap it up. And this is probably the only reason you tuned in today. It is Brandon's Gambling Corner, in which Brandon is going to aim to make you some money. Now, listen, if you're one of those people who go out here and follow every one of Brandon's picks, I just want to go ahead and say up front that we are sorry that is happening, and to get you some help. We're going to offer a number at the end of the show to really help you if you're relying on Brandon to make you some money. But we got a full show today, guys, so let's go ahead and kick it off. Like I said, we kick it off with pick 6. So we don't even need to enter for this segment, Brandon. Let's just get right into it. We have number 23, Northwestern, traveling to face Purdue. Northwestern is a 3-point favorite, Brandon. I think I know who you're going to pick here. You were really high on this team, but before you pick them, I'm just going to let you know Rondale Moore is not playing.
You know what? I'm upset about that, but I still, and I know I should not, Zach, I understand that, but I still believe in Purdue. It's a Boilermakers world, and we're just living in it. I don't understand, Northwestern, I get it. They're 3-0. I don't know if they're good, though. They have one quality win, in my opinion. That's against Iowa, and they beat them by a point.
They also beat Maryland by, 40 points?
Yeah, but is Maryland good?
There were people picking Maryland to beat Ohio State this weekend.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stupid people in the world, Zach.
And then, joke's on them, COVID beat both of them.
COVID undefeated. COVID and bye week, the only 2 undefeated teams.
Listen, guys, we didn't finalize our pick 6 this week until Brandon? 5 minutes before we started recording this episode. I won't be surprised, guys. We are ready to do this on the fly. COVID is for sure going to cancel one of these 6 games. We have backups ready. We're ready to offer an analysis on the fly, so we'll stay tuned for that. But Brandon, I'm assuming you're picking, Purdue on the back of. You said Rondale Moore's out. I get that, but it has to be David Bell, right?
Yeah, she's just a straight up stud.
I mean, you heard Pat Fitzgerald called him the best wide receiver in the country.
Well, I mean, he's leading his own team in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. I mean, he's beating out Rondale Moore in those categories.
Well, Rondale Moore hasn't played this year, my God.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
If he's not beating out Rondale Moore, it's been a long year.
You're not beating out Rondale Moore. How you feel?
I also have not played a game for Purdue yet.
It's not my fault.
I mean, I get it. Bell's really good. This team has a big stable of receivers that are really, really good. But Brandon, I don't think there's a single running back that can generate any yards. I mean, they're averaging 94 yards on the ground. And then on top of that, their defense is allowing almost 500 yards per game, and they've played Illinois and Iowa.
Yeah, but I mean, you say that that's all they're averaging, but their running back, I mean, if they would give him the ball more, I can't help but feel like he would probably be doing some work. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry.
But he's gotten 43 carries in 2 games, Brandon. That's like 20 carries a game. I mean, how much work is he going to give this kid?
Well, I'm just saying it's not a bad stat line.
Listen. I just want to say this, Brandon. When your running back's first name is Xander, you're doomed.
Go look this guy up because, and I don't want to be any kind of way, but I wouldn't choose him as my running back.
Listen, when your running back's number is 40.
Look. I get it. 40 is a slow number. It's a slow number for
he's
sure.
He's 6'3", 230 from Indiana, and his name is Xander.
Yeah, I mean, we're really just playing a tight end at running back here.
But I get what you mean, because it doesn't help it anymore that Drake Anderson for Northwestern is only has 190 yards rushing on the year, so they don't have a rushing game either. But their rushing game is averaging over 200 yards a game, so apparently they're doing a lot better than Purdue as a group. Maybe not individually, but as a group.
Yeah, they have running back. They have a stable of running backs apparently.
So we got the stable of wide receivers in Purdue facing the stable of running backs in Northwestern. But Brandon, to say that I'm not really confident in either of these quarterbacks might be an understatement. I mean, Peyton Ramsey, he's got the Jameis Winston ratio right now, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And yes, Aiden O'Connell is not doing bad. I mean, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, almost 700 yards, but he hasn't been, I guess, overly spectacular. I mean, you just saw this Illinois team allow Graham Mertz to go, 20 for 21 for like 250 and 5 touchdowns?
Right.
And I was a dumpster fire this year. I mean, even the Children's Hospital can't save them this year.
Whoa. Take it back.
No. It will not be taken back. I mean, Brandon, they're 1-2 with losses to Purdue and Northwestern, and then they beat a Michigan State team who is not very good. They lost to Rutgers.
Fair enough.
That's tough. But
they also beat Michigan.
That's true, but Michigan's also a really, really bad team. I was going to say dumpster fire, but not everybody can be dumpster fires. They're just really bad. And Jim Harbaugh is just overpaid, overvalued, overappreciated, and should be jobless in college football. But, I mean, the key for me here, Brandon, is I think both these teams have decent offenses, I don't think either of them are just over the top, especially without Rondale Moore for Purdue. But I think the difference is going to be Northwestern's defense is much, much like they just have so much more talent than Purdue's defense has. I mean, they're only allowing 12 points a game. I think they've played steeper competition. They've played more games as well as Purdue, and they're putting up better stats. I mean, they have so much more talent. It's going to come down to defense, and defense always travels on the road. I think Northwestern pulls this one out, Brandon. I think they're going to be able to shut down the lack of run game is all going to be on Aiden O'Connell. He's not going to have Rondale Moore, and I think Northwestern has the bodies on the back end to shut down Bell.
Okay, so what's your score prediction?
I got Northwestern 21-20 over Purdue.
Yeah, I think it's a close one too, Zach. But I'm we've been foreshadowing it all episode. Well, it's only been this one game, but all episode, still. I'm taking Purdue, and I'm taking Purdue 28-24.
28-24. Okay. Well, there you go. But, guys, we're going to go into one of our replacement games. We weren't supposed to cover this game, but COVID had other plans. We have Arkansas traveling down to Gainesville to face the Florida Gators, number 6 in the country. Florida's coming off a huge win over Georgia. Arkansas is doing Arkansas things where they're 500 on the year. But Florida is a 17.5-point favorite, Brandon. Are you going with the giant upset from the Razorbacks, or are you sticking with the Gators here?
All I'm saying is it's the return of Felipe Franks. So take that as you will. I think 17.5 is a lot of points. I'll say that. Obviously, I think Florida's the much better team of the two. I mean, they showed us that, if they didn't show it to us before or at all this season, they showed it to us against Georgia. They pulled out a big win. And Arkansas, I mean, they haven't been bad, I don't think. They've beaten Ole Miss this year. They've beaten Mississippi State, and they've beaten Tennessee. I'm not saying that 2 out of those 3 teams are good, but Tennessee was supposed to be good, right?
Yeah.
They were competitive with Texas A&M, and they were also, in my opinion, competitive with Georgia. I mean, I know the end score doesn't really show that, but I mean, Zach, you watched that game. I think that they were competitive, and especially in that first half. And I think that, they've been pretty competitive. I mean, they should have beaten Auburn. I'll go and count that up as a win. I'll go and chalk that one up. No, no. So Arkansas, I think they keep it within that 17.5. I think they do cover the spread, but man, this Florida team is just way too good. Do we know, is there any update on Kyle Pitts yet?
He's still in concussion protocol. He's questionable, but probably more doubtful than anything this weekend.
Yeah, and especially if he's out, then they're definitely covering the spread.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that worries me about Florida, man, I mean, with Kyle Pitts being out, I mean, you got Kadarius Toney out there. I get it. Trayvon Grimes kind of showed up in the second half last week, but do you really have a go-to target for Trask if Kyle Pitts is out? I mean, and the reason that's important for me is Damian Pierce hasn't been consistent running the ball. You don't have any. I mean, Lorenzo Lingard hasn't been. I don't think he's played this year. So it was like, who do you trust to give the ball to? I mean, we saw against A&M, Kyle Trask got too focused on Kyle Pitts. When they took Kyle Pitts out of the game, Florida became a different team. There was no momentum. There was no consistent drives. The team just looked like the energy was taken out of them. So what happens now if Kyle Pitts isn't on the field?
Right. I mean, that's definitely a concern. I don't know. I think this Florida team's, I think their defense is way too good. And I understand Felipe Franks has been really good on the season. 14 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, 1,400 yards through the air. He's been a lot better than he was with Florida, in my opinion. And I just don't. So the main thing that concerns me about Arkansas in this one, not only that they're Arkansas, but Sam Pittman's out, obviously, with COVID.
Yeah.
I haven't really heard any other updates. If there's any contact tracing to some players. I don't
think there is. I think all the players are pretty much available for this game. So it's just Sam Pittman. Kind of weird, to be honest with you. I mean, that's not what I would expect. I would expect that at least some players were out, right? I mean, he didn't have contact with any players.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely did. And this is Arkansas. This is going to be like one of the worst cover-up jobs that we've ever seen. He's got it, and he was for sure around those players. And so, like Arkansas, if you're Arkansas, you have to at least be like, oh well, our third string tight end was with the coach at one point in the week, so he's out. You can't just not have anybody out if your head coach has COVID.
I agree, but I mean, you look at Felipe Franks. He's trying to get revenge on Dan Mullen, but also I think it plays completely against him because Todd Grantham, Dan Mullen played against this dude his whole career, Brandon. I mean, Dan Mullen coached him up. Todd Grantham played against him every single day in practice. So if there's a defense that's going to be ready for what Felipe Franks does, you have to think it's his Florida defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I think Kyle Trask, he's going to be just as good as always. I don't think Kyle Pitts will play. I think you're going to see just a lot. I'm talking about a ridiculous amount of Kadarius Toney. I think we saw what he could do in the Miami game last year, Brandon, the season opening win. Trayvon Grimes, look for him. Jacob Copeland. These guys have had limited roles, but they could be big-time players. They're highly, highly rated recruits. I mean, 3 touchdowns on the year for Grimes already. He's going to have a role, but I mean, it just makes me worry because Malik Davis, the running back, has the 3rd most receptions on the team, Brandon.
Right.
That's not a good look. And I mean, you need some younger players like Justin Shorter to step up, Trent Whitmore, someone like that. And I'm not sure, if it could happen. I mean, I need Naquan Wright to step up, Malik Davis to help Damian Pierce in the run game. Maybe even see Kadarius Toney get some touches. But for the defense, man, they just have to get pressure. We know what happens when you can get to Felipe Franks, and that's one thing I'm worried about. We thought this front 7 was going to be able to pressure quarterbacks efficiently and often, and they really haven't, to be honest with you. I mean, only 15 sacks on the year, Brandon. That's really not that much.
No, and it's been really underwhelming, this defense that we hyped up so much. And they're good, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely more weak spots than we anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, their leading sack guy is someone who we talked about in the offseason would be, but
I don't know. I don't like that you called him a sack guy.
Okay, their main guy that they trust to get to the quarterback.
The player with the most sacks.
There you go. Brenton Cox Jr., man, he was the 5-star transfer from Georgia. We thought he was going to lead this team in sacks, and he is, but he has 2, Brandon.
Right.
That's brutal. And I thought the secondary would be a lot better, Brandon. Only 4 interceptions all year.
Yeah, no, I mean, and like I said, there's a ton of more holes than we anticipated in this Florida defense, and they're still getting it done. I mean, it's not like they're giving up games that they probably shouldn't. With the exception of that Texas A&M game, and they played very competitively there, and I think Texas A&M's a lot better than we gave them credit for before the season.
Yes,
but I mean, besides that, like this Florida team, they held Ole Miss, whose offense is pretty or very explosive, I'd say, to 35, South Carolina 24, Missouri to 17, and Georgia to only 28. And Georgia had a terrible outing, but still, they held Georgia to 28 points.
Well, and one of the touchdowns was a pick six, and the other two came in the first 8 minutes of the game.
Right.
So they've really turned it on late. And, that loss to A&M, that loss, I don't know if there's a team in the country that has a better loss than that, outside of maybe Clemson.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge loss. I mean, they were 21st at the time, and now you're looking at A&M as a top 5 team in the country.
Yeah, which is nuts, by the way. Not me. I couldn't have predicted that.
No, I didn't think it was actually going to happen. But, guys, I think Kyle Trask is significantly better than Felipe Franks. I think we can all agree on that. I think Dan Mullen and this coaching staff is going to have Felipe Franks' number. I think Arkansas is on the right track. They're on that upswing, but they're not on Florida's level yet. If this game was in Fayetteville, we could be looking at a major upset, but they're not going to go into the swamp and get it done. I have Florida 38-20 over the Razorbacks this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's pretty steep. You are giving them the cover, so that's tough, Zach. I'm going to go with Florida 38, Arkansas 21 because they're not going to cover.
Look at you! It's all about the details on this podcast.
We bet numbers, not the teams.
But guys, we're going to the Pac-12. We have number 11 Oregon traveling to Pullman to face the Washington State Cougars. Oregon's a 10-point favorite, Brandon. There's a chance of snow, and some think there's a chance of a serious upset this weekend up in Pullman, Washington. Your thoughts on this?
I don't know because it's so tough to gauge, especially when – I don't know. This Pac-12 season has been so messed up, right? They just started last weekend. So what do we really know about either one of these teams?
Not a thing.
That's what I'm saying. And so, while we think that Oregon's a good team, or we think that they might be really good, what have we seen out of their offense that has shown us that? I mean, I know C.J. Verdell is very, very, very good. Tyler Shaw, though, what did he show us last week?
He wasn't the most impressive. I mean, I saw some flashes, but he wasn't the most impressive.
No, exactly. And so, I don't know. I mean, this one could be a lot closer than people are anticipating. I know Oregon's a 10-point favorite there, but man, if this Washington State offense can really turn it on, like we know that they can, then I don't know. I don't see a situation in which Oregon drops this game, but this game could be a lot closer than we're anticipating.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about this game. To be honest with you, I think there's 2 young quarterbacks who finally got their chance to shine. They're going to face off this weekend. They're both replacing 2 quarterbacks that are on NFL rosters right now. One's lighting it up out there in LA. But let's start with someone that our listeners might not really know about. I mean, Jaden DeLora. I think this kid is the best quarterback Washington State's had in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a true freshman, guys, out of Hawaii. Last week, he played a big game, led the Cougars to a big win, a one I didn't see coming. I thought Oregon State was going to pull that one out. He had 227 passing, 3 total touchdowns, 1 turnover, 43 yards rushing. But if Oregon can't generate pressure, which they really didn't last week, then DeLora has the talent to pull off this upset. I mean, wow. Brandon, last week under pressure, his completion percentage jumped up to over 62%. He had 206, 2 touchdowns, and had a 90.4 PFF grade. And when they got to him, that completion percentage dropped to 33% for 21 yards.
Right. And I mean, in my opinion, we're seeing a totally different Washington State team than we're used to because Mike Leach isn't there anymore. So when he left, so did the air raid, and that's not their offense anymore. Now they have a running back who looks like he can really get the job
really
done.
good.
Like I said, it's been one game, and it was against Oregon State, so take that with a grain of salt maybe. But 147 yards on the ground is really good. I mean, there was nothing in me that was prepared. I mean, and it's not like this is his first season at Washington State. Like, he's been there.
He's a senior.
Yeah,
he's a true senior. I mean, you're talking about Dion McIntosh. I mean, he averaged 8 yards a carry, Brandon. I mean, like he had one explosive run. This kid can move the ball, and the fact that he was buried on this roster and they wouldn't give him the ball is mind blowing because this kid's really, really talented.
Right, and I will say he had that 50-yard run last week, or 49, but he still had 147 total yards. That means that over 17 rushes, he had 97 yards or 96. I'm gonna count it, and I don't know. He has 96 yards on the ground through 17 rushes. I mean, this kid can.
That was a
really
real bad look.
I know. I might get fired for that one.
I'm about to say, you better hope no one at your company listens to this podcast.
Yeah, that was on the fly, man. I'll be honest. That was off the dome. I'm not a freestyler. But you know what's funny, Zach, is that in this one game, like I said, the air raid left with Mike Leach. Mm-hmm. He had 16 total touches last season. He's had 18 in this one game last week.
And he's already outrushed his career total just about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's a crazy look, but I want to get to Tyler Shaw, man. We covered the game last week against Stanford, and I get it. He's trying to fill what, Brandon? I think Herbert's the second best quarterback ever at Oregon, right behind Mariota?
Probably.
I mean, you could argue if his talent is better than Mariota now that they're in the NFL, but I mean, he didn't win the Heisman or, take them to a natty. But, last week he was not the most impressive, but he showed some flashes, 227, 2 total touchdowns, an interception, 85 yards rushing out of nowhere. I didn't know the kid had wheels like that. But, Brandon, he seemed to be so limited in his throws, and I'm really concerned about his ability to stretch the field moving forward because he's going to have to win some of these games. Brandon, 10-plus yards down the field, so this is 10 to 20, 20 to 30, etc. 4 for 9, 110, and 1 interception, and he didn't even have an attempt in 3 of the 6 zones that make up that chart.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was one of Justin Herbert's strengths. I mean, he has such a strong arm, and this kid seems to be more accurate, but I don't know if he has the arm power to really put this offense over the top. And they have playmakers that can get deep, but can this kid hit them? And I'm really, really concerned about that. And Shaw, as good as you might say he played last week, he has to be better if Oregon's going to be a serious contender in the Pac-12 and or the national landscape, which is what a lot of people are expecting from them. I mean, a lot of people had them in their playoff.
That is true. And they're going to have a way better outing this weekend against Washington State than they did last weekend against Stanford. Or, man, this could turn south real quick for the Ducks.
Absolutely. And CJ Verdell, he has to be good. I mean, he's coming off 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He has the size to run between the tackles. He has the speed to burn teams on the outside. But he's going to have a tough matchup against Dion McIntosh, man. This kid's going to be – I think the running game is going to be a sneaky key for Washington State moving forward. And I think he's going to shock some people. But, Brandon, the key unit to watch for me is this Oregon defense. I mean, they allowed over 400 yards of total offense to Stanford.
Right.
And it was a bend but don't break approach. Plus, Stanford made a lot of mistakes, missed a lot of field goals. I mean, Washington State is going to bring a much more versatile offense than Stanford against the Ducks this weekend. DeLora is a way more dynamic quarterback, than what they faced last week. So they're going to have to be ready to play this weekend. And if this defense doesn't live up to the hype and Tyler Shaw doesn't get just a little bit better in his second game, I think the Cougars could pull this one out.
I mean, it's definitely feasible. I'm not going to count that out as a possibility. I still think Oregon's going to take this one, Zach.
I do too. I mean, I think Oregon's going to be in for a serious test. And listen, the Cougars have been known to pull upsets on these cold, long Pullman nights. But like you said, I think the Ducks are too talented. I do think it's a close game all game. I think Oregon has to pull it out late. I have Oregon 34-28 over the Cougars this weekend.
You got Washington State covering. That's nice. I'm going to go with Oregon. I have to believe that Washington State has to be better than Stanford. So I'm going to go with Oregon 34 to Washington State 24.
Oh, a push? You're going to predict a push.
I wouldn't bet on this game.
You're such a mush. Over it.
Well, no. Well, maybe. I went 2-1 last week.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Guys, we're going to move on here. Back to the ACC. We have the number 2, shocking I'm saying that, Notre Dame Fighting Irish traveling to Boston College this weekend for a 2:30 matchup on ABC. Brandon, any hangover for the Fighting Irish here, and can the Eagles pull this one out?
Yeah, Zach. I've been trying to figure out. Tell me if I'm pronouncing this right. Is this a trap game? Is that what you call this? Yeah, I think
a trap game.
Yeah, I mean, the next matchup that Notre Dame has is going to be against North Carolina in 2 weeks, or it's on a Friday. Why are they playing on a Friday? Anyway,
what?
Notre Dame.
It's the 14th.
No. After Boston College.
Oh, after. Okay, I was like, this game's all Saturday at 2:30.
No, they're playing North Carolina. In 2 weeks from tomorrow. They're playing that Friday. But Notre Dame's coming off of a huge win over Clemson.
Understatement.
And so they're feeling themselves for sure. They're number 2 in the country. That's a game that Notre Dame normally won't win. That's just how kind of they are, or how they have been for the past probably 20 years. They'll just drop games when they matter most. They're probably looking forward to this North Carolina game, and just a little bit. I guess it does help that this game is 2 weeks out still. But Boston College, it's really easy to look over this team, and I don't think they're a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. I think this is a really good team. I mean, keep in mind, this team played Clemson super close, and they lost the game in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame took that same Clemson team with, I think they ended up losing more. They took them to overtime. So I think this is going to be a really good matchup, actually. And I think to have this spread at 13.5 is absolutely insane, especially when this game is in Boston.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you could point to some of the close games Boston College has. It's tough to get a read. I mean, they have a struggle win over Syracuse. They almost beat Clemson on the road. They blow out Georgia Tech. They get destroyed by Virginia Tech, who just lost to Liberty last weekend. And then it takes OT to beat a Pitt team that's having some problems.
Right.
I mean, it's like, wow, what can you take away from this Boston College team? And it's really hard. But Brandon, we did cover it in the recap episode. We had a lot of other stuff going on. But I have to ask you before we get deep into this game, what do you think about the president condemning the students?
Pardon?
What do you think about the president condemning the students who stormed the field?
About the Notre Dame?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think about just people in general condemning the students.
Go ahead. Put them on. Put them on the hot seat. This is hot seat watch from Brandon.
I think it's really stupid to criticize these students after this huge win. These students that are already in the stands together, and I get it. They're trying to separate them, but do you really? I mean, I've been to football games this season. Do you really think that they're going to be able to separate these people as much as they hope they could? LSU has no tailgating going on, and I have a no tailgating sign in the room I'm recording in right now. I mean, people are going to do what they want. People are going to live in the moment, especially college students. And if storming the field's what you do when you beat the number 1 team in the country in this Clemson, who is building a dynasty, then I'm all for it. I think maybe storm the field. I get it. There's COVID, and it's very serious, and I'm not undermining it, or I'm not trying to undermine it here. But, man, come on. Notre Dame just beat the number one team in the country, and you're going to cry over students storming the field, students that were already sitting close together, students that share classes all day. You're going to complain about that?
Yeah. I mean, and how about like in the people on like the national news channels saying that it was like a culture issue with college football? Like, you know, it blows my mind that like there's people who have platforms like that can say stuff like that. I mean, you're talking 18 to 22-year-old kids. I mean, Brandon, and I posted it on it was my Facebook or something. I posted I retweeted or whatever, a picture of the storm in the field, and someone commented was like, all I see is a bunch of COVID cases, like, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, well, listen, if Auburn would have beat Clemson and Jordan Hare and I would have been there, the Black Death wouldn't have stopped me from storming the field after that game.
Yeah, and do what you have to do. I mean, if you storm the field, and I feel like that's somebody's personal choice, then maybe it could be your personal choice to self quarantine if you think that you may have COVID, or maybe get yourself tested and see if you're test positive for COVID. I mean, right. I don't see the immediate harm in rushing the field if you're responsible about it. I mean, if you're wearing a mask, you're outside, then I don't understand what the big deal is.
Right. And then no players from Notre Dame tested positive for COVID this week.
Right. And
that was like the whole thing.
And these colleges are testing people. They're testing students. Zach, you've been tested at school. I was tested today at 2:30. Like, these colleges are testing students. They have all these testing sites around campus. And do you think that they would be allowed to go to these football games if they tested positive? No, absolutely not. So if no one has tested positive that's there and they storm the field, what's going to happen? Is COVID going to appear?
I mean, I'm on your side. Like, I just thought it's ridiculous that people can make a career out of literally chastising kids for just being excited.
Right.
It just blows my mind, man. But we'll get back to the game. But yeah, I've totally forgot we had to I meant to ask you about that last episode, but it was crazy. But I mean, Brandon, I think this game's going to come down to which quarterback can have a big game. Can Ian Book keep the magic going, or can Phil Jerkovich keep his momentum going? I mean, this dude has 15 passing touchdowns, over 2,000 yards, and only 4 interceptions.
He's really, really good.
You're not lying. And I mean, Ian Book, he's not really a big. He won't throw the ball a lot. I mean, he has 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns, but only 1 interception. That's really, really good. But which quarterback can take care of the ball? Which quarterback can make the plays down the field? We've already talked about both these guys struggling to push the ball down the field, but Jerkovich's level of difficulty is much, much higher than Ian Book's. This Boston College defense is not very good. And you look at the Notre Dame secondary, they got some dogs back there, man. I mean, Kyle Hamilton's back there ready to knock someone's head off. And you saw that these players can make plays when needed. And I'm really worried that Phil Jerkovich, the moment is going to be too big for him. And this is also his revenge game, Brandon. Let's not forget, we mentioned Felipe Franks going to Florida. Well, Jerkovich is a transfer from Notre Dame, so you know all the pressure and all the eyes are going to be on how he plays this weekend.
Right, I agree. I absolutely agree with you, Zach. The one thing that I would point to in this game is that Phil Jerkovich or Jerkovic, or why can no announcer agree on how to pronounce any quarterback's name, by the way?
Yeah, we have 19 different pronunciations for everybody.
Yeah. And so anyway, he's really gonna have to come to play this weekend, because like you said, this Notre Dame secondary, I mean, they are nasty. And that's just this Notre Dame defense all around, really. I mean, Notre Dame is playing the best Big Ten football I've ever seen in the ACC, where their run game is unstoppable. Their defense is incredible. And I mean, that's tough to beat. That's really tough to beat.
Yeah, I mean, you look, like I already mentioned, Kyle Hamilton leading the team in tackles with 36. Drew White at linebacker over 30 tackles. Sean Crawford at safeties up there. Tariq Bracy at cornerback. Nick McLeod at cornerback. These guys are all so talented, and that D-line just absolutely blows me away every time. You look at Isaiah Foskey with 3.5 sacks. They have so much talent at almost every level of this defense. And the biggest thing for me, Brandon, they're all disciplined. They all play physical. They all play fast. And I feel like a defense like this has been missing since Notre Dame made the championship back in 2012. We haven't seen an elite defense like that in Notre Dame in a long time. And I think that's why this team's having so much success. I mean, Ian Book's not a quarterback that is just going to put the team on his shoulders and throw for 400 yards. Yes, Kyron Williams is a great running back, and I think he'll probably be the X factor this weekend. More on that later, but I think this defense deserves the most credit for this Notre Dame team being 7-0 and number 2 in the country.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. This defense is incredible.
And Brandon, I mean, Kyron Williams, we talked a lot about him on the recap episode, last episode, but I don't think enough can be said about this kid. I don't know where he came from. I didn't see this happening, but this kid as a sophomore has absolutely taken the country by storm. I mean, only 4 carries last year, Brandon.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's really shown us that, I mean, he's a very reliable running back.
Yeah, I mean, 740 yards, almost 6 yards a carry, 10 touchdowns, has some catches. I mean, this kid, anytime he touches the ball, can go to the house. And I think he is. Go ahead.
And you know what's crazy is that every single time he touched the ball against Clemson, I mean, you just knew he was good for 5 yards. You knew that he was good for that first down if it was second and maybe medium to long. I mean, he is carrying defenders with him. He's big, he's fast, and he gets the job done. I mean, he's 5'9", but he's 5'9", 195. He's a stocky guy.
Closely couldn't seem to tackle him last weekend. I mean, I put a lot of the credit on him last week. And Brandon, the thing that gets me about this matchup is, can Boston College get any pressure on Ian Book? This offensive line for Notre Dame's legit. I know they were ranked first in the NCAA coming into the year. We talked about them on the ACC preview episode. We've talked about them 1,000 times. This offensive line might have exceeded expectations.
They have, and it's funny that you say that because I'm not sure that Boston College really has a defense. I'm just not. They definitely don't have a very good passing. They really don't have a really good rushing defense. Their passing defense is better than the rushing the rushing defense for sure.
And that's not a good matchup when Kyron Williams is coming to town off probably his best game of all time.
Not only him, but Ian Book, who gets it done with his legs. I mean, I don't know. This is going to be bad for Boston College. Boston College is going to have to score 50 points to beat Notre Dame this weekend.
Well, Brandon, are you picking Boston College to score 50 and pull the upset?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm going with Notre Dame, and I don't even think Notre Dame has to score that much. I think I'm going with Notre Dame 35, Boston College 14.
Oh, I like it. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that. I had trouble picking this game. I think, like I said, Kyron Williams is going to run for 1,000,000 yards. I think he's the X factor, Brandon. I still think it's a lot closer than this. I have Notre Dame 31-28 over Boston College.
All right. I like it.
Close one here, but let's go on to listen. Before I even announce the matchup, Brandon, listen, I know it's 2020. It's COVID and all. I get it. But what in the literal hell is going on with a top 10 team being an underdog to a 3-loss team? When in the hell is that allowed? And let me announce, number 9 Miami Hurricanes traveling to Blacksburg to face Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is a 2-point favorite, 2.5-point favorite, and they lost to Liberty last weekend, Brandon.
Liberty's good, so keep the name out your mouth. But but you know how I feel about Virginia Tech. They're frauds. They're frauds. They're frauds. They're frauds. And if you didn't hear me, they're frauds. So that's why they're the favorite in this game. I don't understand it either.
I mean, they lost to Liberty. They have not won back-to-back games this season. And you have Miami riding a 3-game win streak in which last weekend De'Aaron King might have played his best game of his career.
Right.
And you're going to tell me Virginia Tech's a 2.5-point favorite? Who's setting spreads? I need to know.
Go make your money because Miami is plus 110 right now, or at the time of recording. Maybe when we release this at midnight, they won't be. But if you're listening to this at midnight, they probably will be somewhere around that. So go ahead and place your bets if it's legal.
Is that your lock of the week?
I think it's going to have to be. Can I lock it in right now at plus?
Lock it in right now.
I'm locking it in right now. Plus 110 for Miami. I'm texting to you right now. That way I don't forget because I forgot my lock of the week last week.
God, man. But listen, this teams have an interesting matchup, Brandon. I think the quarterback matchup is going to be spectacular. I mean, you have De'Aaron King versus Hendon Hooker. Which quarterback is going to be able to make the plays needed to win the game? They have turnovers. I mean, who can avoid turnovers? Who can bank more plays with their legs? Both these guys are dynamic. And who can sustain drives and keep the ball out of the other's hands? That's going to be a major focus for me. And listen, King has played well this year. I mean, outside of maybe 2 inconsistent weeks against Pitt and Clemson, in which he had 4 interceptions combined. But this past weekend, Brandon, he threw for over 430 yards, 5 touchdowns with no turnovers, and had a 92 QBR.
Oh, wow.
That's spectacular. And if King is playing at his best, then I really think the Hurricanes are really one of the best teams in the country. You look at the loss last week, I don't think you could put that on Hendon Hooker. He played an outstanding game. He had what, he had like 360 total yards or a little bit more than that, 4 total touchdowns, no turnovers. He was consistently one of the best players on the field. This game being in Plattsburgh also bodes well for Hooker because he's played excellent at home this weekend. Brandon, his completion percentage jumps up to 74%. He gets over 330 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, no turnovers at home.
I mean, that's insane.
I mean, it's pretty elite. Hooker offers more on the ground, I think, Brandon, with his legs. He's a lot more explosive scrambling than King is, but I think King is much more dynamic through the air. So who is going to force the game into their wheelhouse? Is it going to be who can throw the ball further, better, more accurate? King's going to win that almost every time. But Hendon Hooker can make plays on his legs. I mean, and Hooker last time he played Miami lit the Hurricanes defense up for a big win. So that's something to watch for. And Brandon, speaking of the run game, how about Khalil Herbert versus Cameron Harris? What a matchup on the ground. But Brandon, I don't know if you know this. Can you let me know what happened to Cameron Harris?
I think did he fall off a cliff or something?
Brandon, he has not had a 100-yard game since the Louisville game.
That's tough. That is not a great look.
He rushed for like 232 in the first 2 weeks. Brandon, he's only at 408 for the season right now.
Yeah, he had 3 yards against Clemson. That's fun.
Woo!
He had 8 yards against Virginia. That stout defense in Virginia.
He's headed back this weekend. But yeah, that's a bad look. But Khalil Herbert, Brandon, I don't know about you. He's the most surprising player in the ACC thus far in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, he's played, very, very well. He has almost 8 yards of carry when he's playing in the top 25 this year. I mean, that's fantastic. I
mean, he's just, I can't believe how good this kid is. I think he has the advantage in this matchup, but the Canes, that's got to be their key. They have to slow down Herbert because if Herbert gets going and you lose focus on Hendon Hooker, it's going to be a long night if you're facing Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to run it up on you. They are going to run it straight up on you. But Brandon, I don't know about you. Has Miami found a wide receiver yet that you can trust?
No, not really, like at all. I mean, maybe Mike Harley, but not really.
He said, "Ooh, that's a bad question." But I mean, I don't really know what to think about this matchup because I think King and Hooker are really good. Cameron Harris has been inconsistent. Khalil Herbert has been amazing. Neither team has a true, real wide receiving threat that worries me, but my thing is can this Miami defensive line play like they did to start the season?
Man,
because that defensive line was unstoppable against Louisville, against Florida State, against some of these early teams, but they really haven't changed the game since then.
Right.
And I think they're going to have to play outstanding because I think this Virginia Tech team is going to be upset because, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys watched the Liberty game. Virginia Tech should have won that game.
Yeah, maybe. There's still odds.
They block a field goal, but somehow a timeout was called right before that.
Coach called it. Stupid timeout. Tried to ice the kicker.
Timeout.
Never works.
Yep. They block it, take it back for a touchdown, but then it comes back. And he makes the field goal and to win the game. But like you said, Brandon, Liberty's actually really good. Hugh Freeze is out there doing work. But Brandon, I really, really cannot believe that Virginia Tech's the favorite here. So I guess I am not picking the favorite. I'm going with the spread. I have Virginia Tech winning this game, and I have Virginia Tech covering. Virginia Tech 38, Miami 34 in Blacksburg this weekend.
I like it. I'm gonna go with Miami, and I'll probably go Miami. I hope their defense shows up, and I hope they can stop the run. I'll go with Miami 28. Virginia Tech 24.
I like it. Now, you see, you're going with the underdog. You got away with picking an underdog, even though they're not really an underdog, but it's fine.
Sure did.
Last game of the weekend, guys. We have number 13, Wisconsin, traveling to Ann Arbor to face the Michigan Wolverines, who are just reeling right now. Wisconsin is a 4-point favorite. Brandon, is your team going to make a comeback after not playing for it seems like the entire year?
Man, I hope so, but I don't know. The only positive thing I can think of right now, because Graham Mertz won't be playing, is that they are playing against Michigan, and that's always a bright spot. That's always a light at the end of the tunnel, right? When you show up to the big house with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach in 2020. I mean, you have to look forward to that.
It's going to be. I don't know, man. This game was so hard to predict. There's so much you could look at. I mean, Wisconsin, Brandon, when they kick off Saturday, it will mark the 22nd straight day Wisconsin has not played a football game.
That's insane.
And Michigan, they're trying to avoid a 3-game losing streak.
Which I kind of hope they keep it going. I kind of hope they keep it going for a few more games.
Oh, that's tough. But, Brandon, the only storyline that matters here is Graham Mertz going to play? Or is Chase Wolf going to be making his first start for the Badgers? As of today, about 2 o'clock, when Paul Chryst had his press conference, Mertz is still in the COVID protocol. And technically, Brandon, his 21st day will be Friday, which is technically the day he can return.
I'm listening.
So he could play, but that's if the coaches feel like he's practiced enough.
I don't know. I kind of like this Wolf kid. I mean, I know that for over a year now, I've been on the Graham Mertz train, and I think since the first episode of the Bluebloods, I've been heavy on the Graham Mertz train. But man, when your last name is Wolf and you're a quarterback in the Big Ten, feed me more. I need more of that. Inject it straight into my veins. I need a main line of quarterbacks with the last name of animals. Not even last names, just any name. Who is it? Boise State, Hank Bachmeier. What a strong name. But his brother's names are Buck and Bear Bachmeier. Inject. I mean, that's the best quarterback name I can think of is Bear Bachmeier or Buck Bachmeier.
Or Dakotas. Is that the LSU?
Oh, Dakotas Crawford? Yeah.
Yes.
He'll be in Baton Rouge next year. Don't worry.
That's a fire name. That is a fire name. Or Big Cat Bryant at Auburn. Also a fire name. But Paul Chryst said all the tests are done for Mertz. It's just if the coaches decide he's practiced enough and is ready to play a full game. I mean, Mertz was the best quarterback in the Big Ten the first week they played, 20 for 21, 255 touchdowns. It's going to be an X factor, Brandon, because Mertz probably makes Wisconsin a huge favorite, while his absence really makes this game a toss up.
Also,
So
Zach,
we don't know.
do we really think that Graham Mertz hasn't already been practicing?
He probably definitely has.
Absolutely, right?
I would hope so. I would hope you don't just throw him out there.
Right.
But the matchup to watch is I really don't know what to think about this matchup. It's the Wisconsin defense against the inconsistent Michigan offense. This Michigan offense was unstoppable for 1 week, Braden, but had 2 terrible performances after that. They were able to do whatever they wanted against Minnesota, but the run games disappeared. We talked about that. They put unnecessary pressure on Joe Milton, who did not respond well. In case you didn't know what we were talking about, 13 total yards of rushing last week against Indiana. That is what we got. And for me, Brandon, Joe Milton's been inconsistent. He's failed to lead lead this offense in this losing streak, and his accuracy downfield has been horrible. Brandon, 20-plus yards down the field, 22% completion percentage.
Right.
And this Wisconsin secondary is too good for that limited, passing attack to really attack them. I mean, you can't throw underneath because these safeties are going to eat you up.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's bad. I mean, you have Eric Burrell, Colin Wilder, 2 of the best safeties in the Big Ten, and Eric Burrell was on my list for one of the best returning players in the conference. I expect them to make Joe Milton's weekend one to forget. And Brandon, we've seen Jim Leonard, the defensive coordinator from Wisconsin, have Michigan's number, have Jim Harbaugh's number in the past, especially if you look at last year's beatdown in Wisconsin when, I mean, it was 35-14. It was really like 35-0. I mean, they just murked Michigan.
Yeah, right. They absolutely did. I
mean, and Brandon, my biggest question of the weekend is, can the Badgers find their next great running back this weekend?
You have to hope so, because their showing against Illinois was not great in the run game.
Suspect.
Garrett Groshek is that their running back's name right now?
Yep, that's the leading rusher last game.
Tough. He has a mullet. Like, how is he the leading rusher?
Listen, I'll give you a name to look out for. Nakia Watson is going to be the name to watch out for this weekend. He's explosive. The kid is an every down back. He looks just like the other Wisconsin greats. He has 62 yards rushing in their first game, but he's going to have to step up this game. I think he can. So look out for Watson to be the next big, back. But Brandon, I mean, I got to hear, like, what are you looking for in this game, and what do you think is going to go down?
I mean, well, first of all, we definitely have to hope that if you're a Wisconsin fan, or if you're pulling for Wisconsin here, then you have to hope Graham Mertz is back, because I don't know if I trust the true freshman backup that much. I get it. Graham Mertz he's a true sophomore now. I don't think he redshirted last season. He may have, but I'm not sure if he did. You have to hope that this run game really does show up, and you have to hope that this defense shows up like they did against Illinois. Now, what we know about this Wisconsin team is that they played a very, very, very good game against Illinois. The same Illinois team that just dropped a game to Minnesota 41-14. And we know how bad Minnesota's been this year. I'm not saying Michigan's a great team. I'm just saying they're a lot better than Illinois is, I think. And so Wisconsin, I mean, after a couple weeks of break, they're really going to have to show up here. They can't take this one for granted. I know Michigan's looked really bad, and I know Wisconsin looked good in their last showing, but man, this could be a trap. I'm not sure how this could be a trap game for Wisconsin. In any other year, this wouldn't be a trap game, but it might be a trap game.
It definitely could be. I mean, we saw Memphis. We saw Cincinnati, we've seen Tulsa, we've seen Oklahoma State. All these teams that have had canceled games have played real sloppy coming out.
Well, yeah,
of their break. I mean, and I don't think anybody's had a longer break than Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, besides the entire Pac-12.
That's a fact. I forgot about that. That's tough. But guys, I think the Wolverines are going to go all out for a win this weekend, Brandon. The Badgers are just going to be itching to play a game. Here's an interesting stat, Brandon. The Badgers have not won in Ann Arbor since 2010.
Yeah, I think they absolutely in that streak, Zach. Wisconsin, I think regardless of whether they have Graham Mertz or not, wins this game. I think Michigan's going down a really tough road right now. You have to think after this kind of start of the season that Jim Harbaugh's losing the locker room, right? These players probably aren't as determined as they were to start the season. And this might be a tough game for Michigan.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got Wisconsin taking this one 24-14.
Wow, low scoring. I'm going to go with I feel like I choose the same numbers every game. I'm going with Wisconsin 35, Michigan, I'll say 31.
Like it, a high-scoring game. But, guys, that is a wrap on Pick 6. We got Brandon's Gambling Corner now. Week 11. We should go back and see how you've done.
No, we
Gambling
shouldn't.
Corner.
We should not. We absolutely should not.
What do you think? Just give an honest guess. Like, what percentage of picks have you gotten right?
I'd say I've probably gotten close to 40% right. Like,
that's not bad. That's not bad.
It's not good, depending on where you put your money, you're still losing money there, I think.
That's fair enough. But, guys, it is your favorite segment. We're going to kick it off with Super Dogs here. And, we switched it up this week. Brandon, we have group of 5 Super Dogs.
Uh-oh.
We have East Carolina plus 27.5 over Cincinnati. Will they cover it? And is there any chance of an upset?
No chance of an upset, but yeah, I think they cover that. East Carolina's not a bad team if you've been paying attention. So yeah, I don't think there's a way that Cincinnati wins this game by 4 scores.
You don't think so? I mean, they beat.
Okay, they definitely could, but I think East Carolina is going to cover that.
Take Cincinnati. Brandon is fooling himself.
That's tough. That is so tough to pick a spread that's 4 touchdowns wide.
That's true. We'll lower it this next time, Brandon. Troy, a 10.5 point underdog to Coastal Carolina.
I'll say Coastal Carolina probably covers that. I think they can.
The game is in Troy.
That doesn't matter. Troy. You think Troy has a home field advantage?
I guess they came to LSU. But...
yeah, they came to LSU, stupid.
All right. This one's a little personal for you, Brandon, in 2 ways. We have South Alabama plus 15.5 point underdogs to Louisiana Lafayette.
UL, there's no chance UL covers that spread. UL wins every game by like a touchdown or less. So I think South covers, but they don't win.
Okay. I was about to ask. I was like, you think they got an upset brewing?
Absolutely not.
All right. Guys, we're moving to money lines. We switched up the conferences this week. Pac-12 underdog money lines, Brandon. You got to take the money line and the complete upset. We have Oregon State plus 410 over Washington.
Ooh. No. Oregon State's bad. And we don't know about Washington yet because their game against Cal got canceled. But what we do know is that Oregon State's probably not a good football team. Baseball, that's a different story. Very good baseball team.
Baseball, if there's a spread with Oregon State plus 410 in baseball, unless they're playing Vandy, take it.
Yeah, take it.
UCLA plus 140 over Utah.
Oh man, that one's tough. I think I'd take UCLA. I don't want to, but this seems like one of those games that they would win.
Okay. I like it. Cal plus 154 over Arizona State.
This game is going to get canceled on Friday, so maybe just don't bet on that. If there's a line, maybe if you can bet on the line that this game might get canceled, do that.
We got COVID plus 300.
COVID plus 300. I don't know a thing about Cal except for they cancel games over one COVID case. So, no, there's no way they win.
All right. Arizona plus 420 over USC.
Nope. Keaton's going to pull it out.
He said Keaton's my boy.
My boy.
All right, guys, that is your Pac-12 money lines. Over and unders. Brandon gets crazy on these.
Let's go.
Army Tulane over under 47.5.
I knew it was going to be low. Under.
Under
So far
47.
under. So far
Ooh.
under.
Okay. Georgia, Missouri, 48.5. Oh,
Over.
that was canceled. Nope, that one is canceled. I forgot it canceled during the podcast.
It would have been over.
TCU, West Virginia, 45.5.
TCU, Virginia,
45. No, West Virginia, my bad.
Oh,
West Virginia.
I was about to say, that's out of conference, my man.
You're like, who scheduled that game?
This is still Big 12, and I know that both of these teams, they're the outliers, and they have kind of a defense. I'm still going to go. I have to go with over. It's the Big 12 over.
I like it. Vandy, Kentucky, 42.5.
Oh, that's so mean. That's so mean to do to Vandy. Over, because Kentucky's going to score 40.
I like it. Wake Forest, North Carolina, 66.5.
Ooh, I don't know, because I haven't really been paying that much attention to Wake Forest. Do they have an offense?
Kinda. I mean, Sam Hartman's decent, but Say Surratt opted out, so their offense is kind of limited there. But I mean, they can score.
They can score. I'm gonna 66.5 so much though. I'll go with under.
Under. Okay. Louisville, Virginia, 66.5 as well.
Louisville, Virginia, under.
Under. Yep. South Carolina, Ole Miss, 71.5.
Over.
Oh. Okay. Temple, UCF, 75.5.
Over. UCF might score 60.
God, dog. All right, guys. To wrap up the show here, Brandon's heart segment. We started it last week. This is where Brandon cringes. Oh, it's every week from now on. Southern Miss plus 4.5 point underdogs against Western Kentucky. If you want to take the money line, your Southern Miss Golden Eagles are plus 176.
That's so enticing. Western Kentucky, I don't even think it's good, but Southern Miss, very bad. They almost lost North Alabama last weekend, Zach. And did I mention that on the last episode?
No, you did not. But I know on the last episode, on the last preview episode, you said they were going to dominate.
Because I almost took North Alabama. Remember, I said they wouldn't cover the spread, and they didn't.
They did not.
Western Kentucky's really bad. Yes, I'm taking the money line. Southern Miss
176 over under 48.5. Under. Ooh.
Well,
okay.
Western Kentucky scored 6 points last week, Zach.
That's true. That's a good point. And Southern Miss can't do anything other than give it to Frank Gore Jr., and that's still not a good option.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Last one, Brandon. COVID versus LSU. LSU is a 28-point underdog to COVID. The money line is plus 10,000 for LSU.
What's the money line for COVID?
We didn't even set one because we know who's going to win this.
Okay, well, LSU's not going to win another game this year. I hate to say that, they're not going to, especially not against COVID.
The over-under for the game is 53, which is the amount of players LSU didn't have for this weekend.
Under. I'll go with under.
Oh, God. Okay, right now, if the game was happening, Brandon, when the game got canceled, LSU was a 28.5 point underdog to Bama. Would you have taken that?
No. They started out at 22, and this game got canceled. What, did it get canceled yesterday? Or it got canceled on Tuesday? So the line opened on Monday. It closed on Tuesday. And
listen, what happened is the report that Miles Brennan was out for a year and that LSU was doing a punter at quarterback broke before the game canceled. So the line was headed to 30.
Well, he's the second string quarterback, Zach. Let's get that straight. But, I mean, they there's no chance they would have gotten anywhere close to Alabama.
What if they were fully healthy? Like you had the day one roster, no injuries. Would they have covered 28 on the at home against Alabama?
Do we get Jamar Chase?
No.
Can you give me Jamar Chase?
Okay, if I give you Jamar Chase, would y'all cover 28?
Yes.
Would you take the win?
No.
No chance.
No. Well, we still have Bo Pelini's defense.
That's fair. So if I gave you Bo Pelini's defense and Joe Burrow back just on this team, would you take LSU for the win?
Oh, yes.
Good stuff. But guys, that is Brandon's gambling corner. Listen, that is a wrap on this episode. Man, we appreciate all y'all listening, man. We constantly giving y'all college football content, man. It's been an amazing season. We appreciate all y'all tuning in. Keep spreading the word, man. Listens are going up. Social media is going up. YouTube's going up. All that good stuff. So we appreciate all y'all. We couldn't do it without y'all. But listen, Instagram at @_Bluebloods, Twitter at @_Bluebloods, Facebook at the Bluebloods Pod. Man, website thebluebloodspod.com. Subscribe, like, download, all that good stuff wherever you listen, man. We appreciate all y'all. We'll be back Monday with a recap, man. And listen, I'm really worried. Brandon's really worried. We know there's going to be upsets. We tried our best to predict them, even though I picked all favorites for some god-awful reason.
Thanks.
But it's going to be a bad weekend for your boy. No Auburn football is canceled. No LSU football is canceled. Brandon's going to be watching the Masters. Brandon's going to be watching golf. Your boy will be doing some football research for y'all, but we will be back Monday. So until then, guys, we out.